Hello, Align fam. And today we're going to discuss the third topic that we're going to explore on June 1st. And it's going to be a kind of extended, more deeper session that we actually did February 17th. We're bringing back Yushi Yang. Thank you for coming
Hi.
back. Who's a psychotherapist. And the topic we're going to discuss is your love life, but how it's fueled by your core beliefs and also vulnerability. So, Yushi, we're so excited to have you back. We had such positive feedback on your section.
Thank you so much for having me back. I'm very excited about this topic.
Exactly. And this time we have a full hour to do like what we initially wanted to do for this session and this topic. And we're not going to give it all away because we want to surprise you guys. But again, the point of these kind of mini episodes is to help those of you coming prepare for those that you want to research beforehand of the topics we'll talk about, and secondly for those of you who are like, hey, I would love to join, here's a teaser of what it's going to be like. So within Yushi's session we're going to talk about love life, and you will be blindfolded, and what we're going to do is we're going to make you judge a book by its cover. Realize the importance of why you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, because you actually miss a lot of amazing people when you do that. And then lastly is be more aware of why you judge a book by its cover, given your core beliefs and your vulnerability. So that's the goal of this experience. And why we talk about this, and in every session that you're going to rotate into, and there'll be 3 sessions, the most important relationship in your life is a relationship with yourself. And so, Yushi, I know, given the clients that you work with, I as a psychotherapist, the research that you do, obviously you have data backing this up, but we'd love for you to talk a little bit about why that is. Like, why is the relationship with yourself the most important?
Yes, I think that we're talking about love, when we're talking about relationship, right? We have to talk about how do we see ourselves? How do we know ourselves? Right? Do we know what we need? Do we know our how to love? Right? If we don't love ourselves, right? If our core belief is I'm not lovable, right? I'm not good enough, right? I'm never going to attract the right person, right? It doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter what kind of job I have. It doesn't matter how much money that I have. You're not going to attract the right person because you don't know how to love yourself, right? So for you to actually know yourself, if you know yourself much better, then you're going to know who is a match for you, right? Who can actually be good for you as your teammate, as a partner, right? Like, so really in a relationship, right, we are enough. We should feel enough. We should feel safe. And then the other person is just our partner, right? Where we can grow together, not really being dependent on the other person for happiness, for everything that we're lacking. We're just like trying to get that from the other person, right?
100%. And I know you and I have talked about this. There are, many ways, but 2 common ways we see people who don't have self love. First is when you don't love yourself, you would be shocked when someone who's completely your type and good partner likes you. You'd be like,
Yep.
why I shouldn't go for that person. They would never like me, or they would never take me seriously. So you actually take yourself out of the running when that person may think you're the most amazing thing since sliced bread, right? The other side we see also is when you actually don't think you're worthy just being like yourself, like being born, having breath. That is enough, but you don't feel that way. You feel like, oh, I have to like have this title, I have to make a certain amount of money, I had to have this social status. So on a date, and we see it in guys and girls, where you feel the need to like oversell yourself, and you talk about how many deals that you've done, or you talk about like your vacation homes, and you try to in a way like peacock, but
Yeah.
that actually repels people because they don't really get to see the authentic side of you. And when you show very superficial elements about yourself, what you show is what you attract, right? You're going to
Yep.
attract,
Exactly. Yep.
right, men and women who like you for those reasons, those superficial reasons. So people don't think like, oh, me peacocking and showing shows that I'm very confident. it's only insecure people who feel the need to over talk and overcompensate. Very confident people don't need to do that. It's kind
Yep.
of like peeling an onion. You get to know them over time. So we'll definitely talk about that. So thank you, Yushi, to kind of give a little bit more context on it. Let's dive a little deeper, right? Everything we're talking about is obviously relationship with yourself. But now that we've gotten that, what are the things that we're going to discuss? So first is your core beliefs and projections, right? Into other people. So you want to
Yeah.
discuss a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. So core belief is really like this deep sense of like who we are, right? A lot of times these beliefs are unconscious, right? Like I think that like we're not really running around, right? Saying that, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, right? I want people to know that these are unconscious thoughts, right? They're running in the back of your mind, right? These beliefs are formed when you're little, right? So when we're little, right, we're trying to make sense of our world, right? So our parents who are supposed to give us love and support, right, when they're fighting, we are so egocentric when we're little, right? So we can't really say, oh, mommy and daddy, they're having communication issues.
Yeah.
Or daddy is like, is too busy at work and mom is upset. We can't, we can't understand that. We can't see the other side of the story. We can only see mommy and daddy are fighting, maybe I am not good enough, right? Then like we have this like internalized shame, right? So we actually like our interpretation is I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, otherwise parents wouldn't be fighting,
Yeah.
right? This is actually a good strategy when we're little, right? But it becomes really problematic when we're adults, right? Because this is no longer is your narrative, right? So then we are having this core belief. I always say it's like almost like using the wrong equation, right? If you're using the wrong equation, you're never going to get the right result, right? So I think that in this event, we're going to dive into deeper, like what are your core beliefs? Because you may be operating from an old computer operating system,
Mhm.
right? It needs to be updated, right? Your core belief could be from, like when you were 3 or 5, and now you're like 35, right? It's no longer working for you.
Yeah.
Not only is not working for you, it's actually giving you a lot of problems. A lot of people, when they have these like deep, like rooted shame, right, it leads to shopping problem, workaholic, like people become workaholics, addiction, right? And they avoid a lot of things because deep down, I'm not good enough. So let me just avoid the discomfort of all these feelings,
100%.
or relationship.
100%. Just to give it context from, say, using my personal experience as an example, I think growing up, I always felt like I'm only lovable when I'm perfect. So I had to be perfect, look perfect, get perfect grades. Like if I'm not perfect, I'm not lovable, right? And it's not my parents' fault. Like they gave us a lot of love, but I think as someone who I want to be the best. I want to like everything in my all. I took it a little bit too far where I over time realized I wanted love and I wanted that genuine connection, but I can't have it because I was never vulnerable. Like I always had it. Everything's always great. Like I'm always perfect. Like it was hard and for guys to connect with me romantically. And it wasn't until I put those walls down with my friends, guy friends, that
Yeah.
they act. I was like, why are my guy friends into me in this way? Right. It's because I'm actually finally, I'm vulnerable with them because I don't care. Right. So that actually made me realize, wait, the way that I'm vulnerable with my guy friends, I need to be like that in my romantic partners. So that's an example of how, maybe your walls with your core beliefs, right, that you're not lovable unless you're perfect, can
Yep.
actually hinder your vulnerability. And we'll explore all these topics with Yushi's fun session for sure. And then dive a little bit deeper, right? Let's also talk about list of qualities that are non-negotiable or like things, the important things that matter, which is like gonna make you happy in a relationship versus lists of qualities that are very superficial and serving your ego versus your spirit or your soul. So you want to dive a little bit about that?
Yes. So I think that, like we really have to think about, right? Like are these criterias that I have. Is that ego driven or is that heart driven? Right? Ego driven is I want someone who's 6'2" in finance, right? Graduated from Ivy League school. I always say that when you're in a relationship, how is that going to benefit you? How is that 6'2" in finance going to help you in a relationship to communicate better, to meet your needs, right? To talk about, how can I love you better, right? So you really have to think about, right? My non-negotiables has to be helping me and my relationship with this person.
Mhm.
Right. And then I think that a lot of times, like people always get, like especially people who are very genuine, apathetic, right? Like they always get sucked in with narcissist, right? Like it's boom, like this like love bombing, right? And then when you are operating from the ego, and when people ask you, what do you like about that person? A lot of time you say, I don't know, it's just a feeling. You don't even know what you like about this person because they give you like this all this charm, right? Like the first 3 days is just amazing. You actually don't even know, are they reliable, right? Are they honest? Do they have effortless communication skills, right? You don't know any of that. You just like, oh my God, I just like feel sparks and this like feeling that I have. They can't even describe it. And normally that's like ego.
Right. That's 100% because they're literally love bombing you, making you feel so good and like kind of puffing you out. But as quickly as someone can say all these things about you, as quickly it can go away, right? Couldn't agree more. And I would say, in terms of non negotiables, it's okay. You're allowed to have, like, say you're tall and you want someone tall. Like, it's okay to have that. I think what Yushi is going to discuss more is have a ranking order. Like, what are the things that you absolutely need to have in a person? And what are the things that are like nice to have? Or, hey, it's not going to be a deal breaker because, especially those of us who are like swiping on the apps, right? You miss a lot of amazing people when you're a little bit too tight on things that really don't deeply matter in a relationship. So couldn't agree more. And then the last part of it, it's a fun part. I think this is the feedback we get a lot, and that's why I'm making every session longer. It's time for everyone to debrief and share because that's how we learn. And for those of you who've been to a line experience, this is gonna be the fourth one. Those of you who've been to one of the ones before, it's it's never a lecture hall. Yushi, me, and Ira, we're not going to lecture. It's very much we want to create a safe space for you to share your stories, learn from each other. So I think the last part of UC session will be giving you guys space to debrief, ask her any questions, and making sure you guys have time to really connect with one another. So that's that. But Yushi, anything you want to highlight? Because like you've done this exact experience in terms of this session before, but we're gonna elongate it and make it more fun. Anything that came up in those rotations that you want to share or prepare people?
Yeah, I think that vulnerability is a really, really big one, right? And I think that when we live in New York City, right? It's this like hustle culture,
Yeah,
right? It doesn't really matter if you're a male, female, right? And we have to protect ourselves. We have to be super independent
yeah,
and we have to, like be successful in what we do, right? But also that could really hurt your relationship because when you're super independent, when you're super successful, you actually put on a shield. Like you protect yourself, right? And I think that really what we're going to do in our session is really dive in deeper, right? To actually see what you're protecting yourself from, right? It could be fear, right? It could be I don't want to get hurt, right? It could be some family patterns dynamic that you're repeating. So that is kind of like how you can actually learn, again, learn about yourself, right? And when we can drop that shield, right? For female, we can really kind of like drop that masculine energy, right? Because when we are operating in our masculine energy, we're really attracting the wrong guys because the guys are who are actually, like attracting to our masculine energy is the ones who maybe need that energy, right? Maybe insecure, right? That is really not what we're looking for, right? We're looking for someone who has that masculine energy to protect us, right? To be a provider. But and then also like, we're doing it this like in this like partnership, but I just want everybody to kind of like, have awareness. I think that awareness is the first step in everything to get to know ourselves, to get to know what we're looking for, and to live a healthier life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The vulnerability, it will be, I think a lot of your energy and time will be spent on that. I think that's when people really start to have their light bulbs go off. The other thing is because all of you coming and the ones that get approved to come are kind, genuine, good people. That's how you get to come, right? Kind of what you alluded to, this type of people are prey for narcissists. So one thing you and I want to be clear about is when we say like you attract what you are, there is an element of that, but also if
Yeah.
you attract narcissists doesn't mean you're a narcissist, right? There's also this polarity between it. So in Yushi's session, we're going to be able to share you can be kind and genuine, but also have boundaries, right? And there's a difference between having a wall where you can't be vulnerable versus you have natural self-respecting boundaries where you love yourself, you know your self-worth, so you will always put your happiness, your safety before people pleasing other people who are not good for you. So
Correct.
definitely,
Yes, I think that, like a lot of times, right, we're not listening to our body, right? Because we have this shield, right? We're really like, we use our mind too much,
yep,
right? And a lot of times we really have to drop this shield, right? Like vulnerability, like how are we going to have like a deep connection? It's through vulnerability,
yeah,
male and female, right? If you want to have a wonderful relationship, you have to be vulnerable with each other, right? And then I think that for us, we just have to learn that. I remember I heard this like saying is that bird will never be afraid that the branch is going to fall. The bird is going to, because the bird is believes that they're going to fly away, right? So for us, we really have to deep down trust ourselves, trust our body, trust our intuition. If something bad happened, I'm going to be okay.
yeah,
Protecting yourself is going to rob you from all the amazing emotional relationship that that you can have. You're going to be protected from it. You're not going to really experience deep, deep connection or love.
right. I love that. Well, we're so excited to have you, Yushi. We're excited to see everyone June 1st. And until then, have her outfits and dresses and all your sexy stuff ready to go. And we'll see you June 1st.
Super excited.
Thank you, Yushi.